Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
President Richard Nixon addressing the nation 40 years ago tomorrow. 60 million people watched on television, but George Christian saw it in person. George was back then a CBS News technician. He's now one of our cameramen, and he told his story to Chip Reid.
In the moments before President Richard Nixon announced his resignation, he ordered almost everyone out of the Oval Office.
Only the CBS crew now is to be in this room during this. Only the crew.
The crew included George Christian, then just 28.
There were only 2 people allowed from the crew in the room. And one of them was the cameraman, and the other was myself, to make sure that things worked.
His job was crucial, but he worried that Nixon would tell him to leave too.
I'm standing there with afro and bell bottoms and not looking like I'm doing very much, as if I just roamed into the room.
So he hid behind the camera. It was Christian's first time in the Oval Office.
Do you remember how you felt? Were you nervous yourself?
I was nervous.
You were nervous?
I was more than nervous. I was scared to death, you know.
I have never been a quitter.
Did you sense any emotion coming from the president?
I could sense the embarrassment, I think.
The emotion came the next day when Nixon said goodbye to the White House staff.
My mother was a saint.
Christian was also in the room for that.
He talked about his mother, and it was sad. I actually felt compassion for him at that moment.
You've covered a lot of big news events in 40 years.
Yes.
Where does this rank?
This ranks at the top.
The top?
The top. I've been fortunate enough to be in places where I would have paid CBS to be there. This was one of them, and I would have paid a lot, and I think a lot of people would have.
You had a front row seat on history.
I had a front row seat. I wasn't sitting, though. I was standing, hiding behind the camera. Right.
Nearly alone with the president as history was being made. Chip Reid and George Christian, CBS News, Washington.